Welcome back to the podcast. We had a great guest today, Paul Covill. Paul joined us and talked about government contracting and how his bank specializes in this industry. All that and more, so let's dive in.
Transact Capital presents Banking on Your Business with Jacob Robertson.
All right, man. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. So, good morning, Paul. Excited for you to be here, and again, gotta say, we were previous coworkers. I was fortunate enough to be on your team, and really enjoyed those times. So know you spent some time at Wells Fargo, and you're now at Burke and Herbert. So. I want to take a minute and give you a chance to introduce yourself, connect with the listeners, and really tell that story. We want to hear about your banking career and where you are today.
Sure, yeah. So I will say and start with, awesome to see you again.
Thank you.
Been a little while, and I do remember probably the coolest thing that happened when we worked together was you became a father.
Yeah.
So it's cool to catch up on the family, and glad to hear all that's going great. So yes, I was with Wells Fargo for 15 years, and then 2 years ago joined Burke and Herbert Bank. So I guess that I'll start with Burke and Herbert Bank. So the last 2 years have been great. I was in Treasury Management at Wells Fargo, so I've moved into a direct commercial lender. So I'm commercial relationship manager at Burke and Herbert Bank. I sit in Fredericksburg, Virginia, cover Fredericksburg, Culpeper, King George, and a little bit of Prince William as well. So it's been an awesome career change for me. I've really liked working at a much smaller bank. But yeah, Wells Fargo was very good to me as well. I started there, very entry-level job when I was 21 years old. So I had my first son when I was 19. So my sexy banking career started with, applying for every entry-level job that I could find, and Wells Fargo was the first one to call me back. So that's how banking started. And then, they had a bunch of resources that helped me get my degree and develop different skill sets. So I was able to kind of advance through that and had 8 years of commercial banking experience in the Treasury Management role at Wells Fargo that led to Burke and Herbert Bank. So, really exciting to be at Burke and Herbert, but loved my time at Wells Fargo, and glad we were able to hang out for 2 or 3 years. Right?
Agreed.
So,
agreed. I have nothing but great things to say. Yeah, it's a great bank to start, and like you said, really take advantage of a lot of resources.
Absolutely.
So, but. Burke and Herbert. Yeah, it's really been exciting. Tell us a little bit about that story. And
so Burke and Herbert Bank, founded in 1850s. So we've been doing it for a little while. We literally have customers that have been with us for over 100 years. So
wow.
Pretty unique story. Always been an Alexandria-based bank, and over the last 3 years, we've moved into Fredericksburg, moved into Richmond, moved a little west, and opened a commercial office in Ashburn. So that's been really exciting to kind of expand into new markets. Other things that we've done in the last 2 years, so I've been there for 2 years, so I've been taking full credit for these changes.
Right.
Which isn't true
as you
at all,
should,
but
right.
Yeah, right. My story to tell, so I can say whatever I want. But so we've moved from we were publicly traded. We are publicly traded. We were on the OTC markets. We've moved to NASDAQ over the last couple of years.
Okay.
Actually, that was just this year, but it's been a work in progress, right? So we also moved to a new corporate center in Alexandria, so allows a lot of our team to work in one location, offer some synergies and efficiencies through that. I mentioned some of the expansion, and then just recently, about a week and a half ago, announced a merger with Summit Bank out of West Virginia, which is, again, another expansion of the bank. So it's been incredibly exciting time to be with the bank. Personally, I'm a customer, I'm a shareholder, and an employee. So from all aspects of that, it's really been a lot of fun. So,
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's great to hear. And so, as I think about that, and I listen to, a bank, that grew up in, a single city, and then now all of a sudden is growing pretty, rapidly. One is how do you manage that culture? And so I'm curious to hear, what is the culture at Burke and Herbert, and how do you make sure that the experience, like you said, at the original city, Northern Virginia, is going to be the same in Fredericksburg, in Richmond, and as you continue to expand. So curious to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, I think the culture that our CEO and leadership team has helped develop across and permeate through the different regions that we've expanded to. It's been really good. I mean, so for instance, our Fredericksburg team, we all work together at Wells Fargo. Now we're all working together at Burke and Herbert Bank, and it's really been a great fit culture-wise. I think the other thing I would say, Dave Boyle, who's our CEO, and he talked a lot about this with the merger with Summit Bank. That was his number one priority with evaluating a merger, was to find a bank that had a very similar culture. Because I think you're exactly right. The way that you go to market, the way that you support the communities that you work and live in, you want that to be consistent across wherever the bank operates. Yeah. So that's number one priority, I think, for the leadership team. And as part of that, the other thing that I would say has allowed us to deliver on that, at least, I'll speak anecdotally in Fredericksburg, the access to our leadership team is really unique. So, like having our CEO or CFO, I think if I called Dave Boyle, our CEO, he might not answer my phone, but he'd call me back within 24 hours. And if I asked him what his favorite part of his job would be, I guarantee he would tell you meeting with clients. And he doesn't just say that. He'll come and meet. If I ask him to come down and meet with a client, he'll come down and meet with a client or a prospect. Same with our CFO, same with our executive leadership team. So I think that's unique to have that access to leadership, and it allows you to kind of bring that culture from Alexandria to whatever market you're supporting.
Agreed. Yeah, and just from the outside looking in, I enjoy watching your CEO, and it's to me it's great to see a CEO that's out front, publicly leading the growth and initiatives, and really kind of taking ownership of it. So it's definitely impactful. So as you think of the bank overall, what. And each bank has its strengths. Each bank, has its weaknesses, or really things that it focuses on, things that it doesn't focus on. From your point of view, what would you say are the strengths and really the areas that you focus on at Burke and Herbert?
Sure. Well, so I focus most of my time on C&I lending.
Okay.
Although we do have a very robust commercial real estate, investment real estate team that I work closely with if those transactions come up. So the ability to do both, right? Because some business owners have a business and also invest in real estate. So the ability to kind of offer both things to an individual is great to be able to do. So I focus mostly on C&I lending, and that expands across a number of industries, right? So I have service industries, professional services, contractors, nonprofits, medical, dental, government contracting. So really across a wide variety of industries that I support. I focus a lot of my calling activity into the medical dental space and government contracting.
Okay.
So medical dental obviously is a strong industry. It's very competitive, but we again offer kind of a one-stop shop for medical dental, dentists and medical professionals that are expanding their practice, whether that be equipment, real estate, building, whatever they need, but also on the personal side, if they need wealth services and or if they do some investment real estate, being able to kind of be a one-stop shop for our medical and dental professionals. And then government contracting, obviously being in Fredericksburg, where a lot of the economic development is focused on bringing in government contracting, and then it's supporting the Northern Virginia market. Government contracting is something you have to be able to do to some extent, and that's an area that we've built our team. We have some expertise in how to support those companies, and that's been something that I've been focusing on, trying to grow that market share as well. Okay,
yeah, I think that's really interesting. You talk about government contracting, and yeah, over here in the right at the government, right south of DC, we see it all the time, and as you go further north up 95, you see even more. But it is interesting. Not every bank really handles government contracting well. Some banks don't touch it at all. Some banks, like you said, specialize in it. So I'd be curious to hear, from your point of view, like why is that? What is the reason why some banks are comfortable with it and some banks hesitate from getting involved with it?
Sure. Yeah, I think the biggest difference is just the way you underwrite that industry, right? Because we're so used to, as a bank, looking, hey, let me get your past financials, and we'll use those to kind of predict what the future might look like, right?
Right,
Can you
right.
support the debt that you want? Well, government contracting is so different in the sense that it's very contract driven. So you can look at historical financials and that company might have had 3 or 4 contracts that in a year or two they might not have.
Right. Okay.
Or
Okay.
you could look historically and they might not have had contracts that they just were awarded. So the future is going to be way different than what the past looks like. So I think understanding the contracts, the backlog, the periods of performance in the backlog, and how those contracts, are you a prime, are you a sub? It's just a whole different world compared to some of the other industries. So you have to understand it. And I think just like any other bank, unless you've done it or have experience from a credit perspective, it's hard to just start from scratch or handle it the same way you would a different industry, right?
Right. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So as you think about that, and that was great. Yeah, I appreciate that. As you, say you have a client that shows up or a new prospect, and they say, "Yeah, we've just been awarded this, large government contract, and we need help, with funding." So because one of the issues is, you win this government contract and you might get paid when the contract's complete, but there's a lot of work that goes into it to make sure that you can actually, fulfill and complete the contract. So how do you handle those situations? What are some strengths and some solutions that you've employed in the past that are kind of unique to your structure with that?
Yeah, I think to your point, the biggest need is working capital financing and a line of credit that can help support the growth that type of business might need. So I think the biggest thing, this is probably similar to any industry, right? Understanding the business. What are they actually providing for the government, right? Are they in the defense sector? Are they, there's so many different areas of the government procurement sector that you really have to understand the business. You have to understand the contract and then build a financing solution around that. So it's really, kind of customer specific, I'd say, but again, I think we do a really good job of bringing the right people into those discussions to determine what we can do and what the structure needs to look like and what the customer needs to try to come up with something that is a great fit to help them grow their business, execute their contract. And that's the whole goal, is to be part of that story.
What about beyond credit facilities? Are there other techniques or solutions, banking solutions that you've employed to really support the government contracting community, but I guess beyond
across
as well.
All industries. Yeah, Treasury Management I think is a big need for government contractors and other C&I businesses, right? So being able to run the day-to-day operations, make payments, collect your receivables, do that efficiently, and allow your finance team to focus on your business and all the things that are really important. So being able to bring those solutions to the table at a price point that makes sense and allows, again, your customer's finance team to operate efficiently is incredibly important. Mm-hmm. And I think the other piece of that, I talked about understanding how the business works, how they make money from a credit perspective, but that's also important from an operational perspective, right? Is to understand how money's coming in and out and be able to bring solutions to make that process better and allow your customer to transact in the way that they need to be able to transact. So.
Okay. Yeah, and I agree with that as well. And it's really, trying to be that solution, that source to, like you said, really equip them to go out and grow their business in a healthy manner. So one final question as we kind of wrap it up is, and this will be kind of twofold. So one is, as we're talking to this audience and government contractors out there, what are some things that they should keep in mind to really kind of optimize their experience with a bank? What can they do? What's the one best piece of advice that you would recommend if they're considering exploring a new relationship with Burke and Herbert?
Yeah, I think the biggest piece of advice, and this is applicable to any business owner or finance leadership, is when you're talking to a bank, as bankers, we kind of sit around and think about what could go wrong, right? That's right. Yes. We're kind of depressing in that way. But I will tell you, it is refreshing and helpful when you're talking to a business owner or someone in financial leadership that can, obviously explain all the exciting things that their business is doing, how they're pursuing growth, but also convey what could go wrong? What are the risks? What are the things that keep them up at night? And what are those challenges? And how are they mitigating those challenges? It makes the bank's job a lot easier when your customer can really convey that part of the story just as well as all the exciting things. So that would be the biggest piece is helping your banker understand where the risk points are, where the challenges are within your unique business, and how you're going to navigate that moving forward. That just arms the bank with the ability to understand your business and provide a financial solution that's going to meet your needs and be the right fit for you.
Yeah, I really like that, and because it's kind of about controlling the story and the narrative, and it's either you're going to tell your story, business owner, or the bank's going to tell it for you.
Exactly. And you want it to be very collaborative. And to your point again, and that's the other benefit of like at Burke and Herbert Bank having access to leadership. I can't tell you how many times, and you know this, you were in business development at Wells Fargo, but how many times did you get in the door with a prospect because the previous banker left, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, my banker at so-and-so bank left, and I don't have the support that I used to.
Right.
That's really important to me to be a point of contact to my customers, but more importantly, it's very much a team sport. I want to surround my customers with leadership and other members of the bank so that if I did ever leave, they would feel like, number one, they love the bank, and more importantly, that the bank loves them and knows that they're a very important client. So I think that when I talk about access to leadership, that's one of the things that I think is really important, and I try to bring to bear is make sure the bank really knows my customers and allow them to tell their story, not just to me, but to the leadership team and the people that are at the bank, so that it's a long-lasting relationship. Again, Burke and Herbert Bank has been around for 172 years and expect to keep going. So the bank is built on long-lasting relationships, and that's kind of how you develop that. So.
Right. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that was a great way to kind of summarize it. So yeah, as one final question: what's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Sure. Yeah, my phone number is probably the best way. Text or call. It's 540-645-8929, and you can also email me at pcovill, Covill, at burkeandherbertbank.com.
All right. Well, thank you, Paul. I definitely enjoyed this. Great catching up again, and thank you for stopping by.
Thank you, Jacob. Appreciate it.
Transact Capital presents Banking on Your Business with Jacob Robertson.